Hello everyone, I'm Sir JC and you are watching Literature Unfolded. For today's episode, we are about to discuss the literary analysis for the short story titled Dead Stars by Paz Marquez-Benitez. Paz Marquez-Benitez was a Filipino short story writer, educator, and editor. She was born on March 3, 1894 at Lucena City, Quezon Province. She died on November 10, 1983 at the age of 89. Her career as a woman educator, as well as her contributions as a writer, are seen as an important step within the advancement of women in professional careers as well as in the development of Philippine literature. She was a beloved mentor to the first generation of Filipino writers in English, and she was also a beauty queen. Now let's talk about her famous short story, Dead Stars. Who are the characters of the story? Alfredo Salazar. He is the son of Don Julian. He is over 30 years old and a bachelor. Esperanza is the first woman he falls in love with. After their engagement, he falls in love with Julia Salas. Alfredo Salazar believes in true love and he is very optimistic. Esperanza. She is the wife of Alfredo Salazar. Esperanza is an impassionate woman having strong wills and principles. A homely woman. She is also among the lucky women who have the aptitude of consistent beauty. Julia Salas. She is the sister-in-law of Judge Del Valle. She is the second woman with whom Alfredo falls in love with. She remains single for her entire life. Other characters are Don Julian. He is the father of Alfredo Salazar. Carmen. She is the only sister of Alfredo Salazar. Vicente. Carmen's husband. Judge Del Valle. He is Julia's brother-in-law. Donna Adela. She is Julia's sister. She has a pretty, small, plump face with baby complexion. Calixta. She is a note carrier of Esperanza and Alfredo Salazar. Lastly, Brigida Samuy, the elusive woman whom Alfredo is searching for. When and where are the setting of the story? The settings of the short story Dead Stars are various, but the major ones are Calle Real, House of Judge Del Valle, and House of Don Julian. What point of view is used in the story? Third person omniscient. The story is narrated in the third person, offering an objective view of Alfredo's experiences and internal struggles. The narration also provides insights into the perspectives of other characters. Let's discuss the plot of the short story. Exposition. Alfredo Salazar was engaged to Esperanza, his girlfriend, for 3 years. The start of their relationship was relatively warm, with Alfredo wooing Esperanza like a man in dire love sickness. But as the years went by, the warm love's fire slowly flickered, and it was because of Julia Salas. The story of the Dead Stars revolves around a man, Alfredo Salazar, and his affairs. Esperanza is the first woman he falls in love with. The families of both of them are acquainted with each other, and hence they start a loving relationship. Both get engaged after 3 years of their relationship. Alfredo is a lawyer who has a strong desires and wants warmth and compassion. However, Esperanza is an impassionate woman having strong will and principles. Alfredo's love for her soon fades away when he meets Julia. Julia now becomes a new object of Alfredo's desire. Julia Salas was charming and gleeful. Alfredo shared moments of light with her, but sometimes deep conversations when he visits Julia's brother-in-law named Judge Del Valle. Alfredo always went there with Don Julian. Since it was his father who needed to talk to Judge Del Valle, he was always left to Julia's company. Julia Salas is sister-in-law of Judge Del Valle, who is a friend of Alfredo's father. Julia is an optimistic and enthusiastic person, having her own dreams and desires. Rising action. Alfredo Salazar never told Julia Salas that he was engaged. At first, he didn't notice the change in his heart was taking form. But then, he started keeping details of his activities to his fiancée. And then, the guilty feeling crept in. When he found out that Julia was about to head back to her distant hometown, he felt blue and frightened. When Alfredo comes across Julia, he is strongly attracted to her. He is so passionate that he doesn't disclose to Julia about his engagement to Esperanza. So as to avoid the discovery of his fiancée, he keeps secrets from Esperanza too. His eyes are doomed when he learns about Julia's return to her native town. With the fear of losing her, Alfredo decides to declare his true feeling to Julia. Climax. Alfredo Salazar met Julia Salas in the church after the Holy Thursday procession, although he knew that Esperanza was already waiting for him. He approached her and she conversed with him with a cold expression. It told him that she finally knew already. She congratulated him and said that she will be at his wedding. Then, they parted. When the church's function ends, Alfredo goes to meet Julia, though his fiancée is waiting for him. When he reaches there, he learns that Julia has already known about his engagement to Esperanza. Julia wishes him for his marriage and leaves him. Falling action. When Alfredo visited Esperanza in her house, he overheard her talking to Calixta about infidelity and immorality, to which he reasoned in favor of the condemned. The statement caused an intense fury to Esperanza. She told him that she knew. She dared Alfredo to abandon her. On his way to Esperanza's house, he gets a double blow. He finds Esperanza talking to her friend Calixta about loyalty and faithfulness. Alfredo senses a desire to communicate. He supports the reason for craving and choice over dishonesty. Esperanza soon confesses that she knew about his affair with Julia. In pursuit of his lust and heart's content, Esperanza encourages Alfredo to cancel the wedding. Resolution. Eventually, the wedding took place. After several years, Alfredo was sent to a distant village due to a legal assignment. It bothered him so much because it was near Julia's hometown. And there, he found her. She never married, but he wondered how life would be if he ended up being with her. However, the wedding goes ahead as scheduled and Alfredo surrenders to reasons. After 8 years, Alfredo is sent to a place near Julia's hometown. It is for a work duty. On his visit, he feels nostalgic and cannot resist his passion for Julia, and soon he finds an excuse to meet her. But all was too late, and he could never bring things back. When Alfredo looked at Julia, he doubted if she ever cared for him, if he has mistaken the part light in her eyes as manifestations of a possible romance. But now, they are all gone. And so, it was indeed all done. Julia is still single, that forces Alfredo to dream about starting a new life with her. However, he soon realizes that everything is not the same as it were before. On his visit to Julia, to his surprise, he recognized that he no more felt attracted to her anymore. He compared his love for Julia as dead stars, his memory of a long way to get a girl he thought he loved. What are the conflicts of the story? Man versus self. Internal conflict happened when Alfredo Salazar had a change of heart and feelings for Julia were formed. Man versus society. Societal conflict occurred when Alfredo Salazar was overthinking the reasons of people if they will cancel their marriage. What are the themes of the story? Forbidden love, responsibility, morality and fidelity, love and infatuation. Dead Stars expresses the subject of forbidden love. Forbidden love only curses and disturbs the person until a person realizes his or her faults. Responsibility is another underlying theme of the story. Alfredo is engaged to his beloved, yet he distracts himself with another woman. He forgets his responsibility towards his soon-to-be wife. And even after 8 years, he still thinks of Julia until he realizes that Julia has changed herself. The story also emphasized the ideas of being loyal and faithful, while showing the differences of being genuinely in love and infatuated. Writer's context. Paz Marquez-Benitez, a prominent figure in the Philippine literature, wrote Dead Stars in 1925. A time when the Philippines was navigating its post-colonial identity after gaining independence from Spanish rule. Her experiences as a woman and a writer in a predominantly male literary landscape influenced her portrayal of complex emotions and societal expectations. The story reflects her own struggles with love, identity, and the constraints placed on a woman in her society. Text context. Dead Stars was first published in 1925 in the Philippine magazine named The Philippine Herald. It quickly gained recognition as a significant work in the Philippine literature and is often considered as one of the first modern short stories in English by a Filipino author. The story has since been included in various anthologies and literature courses, showcasing its enduring relevance and impact on Philippine literary tradition. Social context. The social context of Dead Stars reflects the patriarchal norms and expectations of the early 20th century Filipino society. The story illustrates the constraints placed on women, such as the pressure to conform to traditional roles of marriage and domesticity. It also highlights the emotional turmoil of men like Alfredo, caught between the societal expectations and personal desires. This context invites a critique of both gender roles and the cultural pressures that shape individual choices, making the narrative a poignant commentary on love and societal constraints. Let's do some literary criticism using the following lenses. First, feminist. Through a feminist lens, Dead Stars reveals the intricate layers of emotional conflict arising from societal expectations. It critiques the restrictive roles imposed on women while simultaneously exploring how these norms affect men. This perspective enriches our understanding of the characters' motivations and the societal framework within which they operate, highlighting the need for greater agency and recognition of women's experiences. In Dead Stars, the dynamics of gender roles and societal expectations are central to the narrative. The story primarily revolves around Alfredo Salazar, but it is the women in his life, Esperanza and Julia, who embody the constraints and struggles imposed by a patriarchal society. Structuralist or formalist. Through a structuralist or formalist lens, Dead Stars reveals how Paz Marquez-Benitez meticulously crafts the story's form, such as symbolism, imagery, and the character functions, to explore complex themes of love, loss, and societal expectations. The interplay of light and darkness, particularly around the symbol of Dead Stars, encapsulates Alfredo's emotional turmoil, illustrating how form and content work together to convey deeper meanings within the text. This approach underscores the richness of the narrative and its emotional impact. Analyzing dead stars through a structuralist or formalist approach emphasizes the text's internal structure, language, and literary devices, rather than the external context like author intent or historical background. A key aspect of this analysis is examining how form and content work together to create meaning. Marxist. Through a Marxist lens, Dead Stars highlights the constraints imposed by social class and societal expectations on personal relationships. The conflict within Alfredo between his desires and the obligations dictated by his engagement serves as a critique of the material conditions that shape human interactions. By examining how class and ideology influence the characters' lives, this perspective deepens our understanding of the story's exploration of love, duty, and the complexities of human emotion in a structured society. A pivotal part of the story to analyze through a Marxist lens is the contrast between Alfredo Salazar's aspiration and the societal pressures he faces, particularly in relation to his engagement with Esperanza. Moralist. Through a moralist lens, Dead Stars presents a profound exploration of ethical dilemmas related to love, duty, and personal choice. Alfredo's internal struggle between his past affections and present obligations illustrates the complexities of the loyalty and the consequences of one's decisions. The story ultimately imparts a moral lesson about the importance of authenticity in relationships and the necessity of reconciling personal desires with social expectations. A significant part of the story that exemplifies a moralist perspective is Alfredo Salazar's internal struggle between his feelings for Julia and his commitment to Esperanza. Psychoanalytical. Through a psychoanalytical lens, Dead Stars offers a deep exploration of Alfredo's inner turmoil, revealing the complex interplay between desire, repression, and social obligation. His struggle between longing for an idealized past and fulfilling societal expectations illustrates the psychological conflicts that shape human relationships. This perspective enriches our understanding of the character's motivations and the emotional depth of the narrative, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness and the reconciliation of one's desires with their current life. Analyzing Dead Stars through psychoanalytical approach involves exploring the character's unconscious motivations, desires, and conflicts. This perspective emphasizes how inner psychological struggles shape behavior and relationships. And that's it for today's video about our literary analysis in the short story Dead Stars by Paz Marquez-Benitez. I hope you learned a lot. See you in our next video.